Hi, my name is Daake, and I'm proud to work for Rapid View. All right, let me start out telling you about my family. First of all, I have my wife, Jennifer. We've gotten married in the last month. She's a great girl. She works for Martin's supermarket chain. I've got a daughter who's 12 years old, Grace Lillianne. She's doing well in school, on a roll. Loves to ride horses and draw and do crafts. And then there's Zach, my son, who's 10 years old. He's a ball. He's fun. We do a lot of things together. We swim, we ride bikes, play a lot of Xbox. Zach's a very energetic, smart kid. And then we have Zoe, our 5-year-old, which is Jennifer's niece, who she has custody of, that she's, again, very energetic, loves to do things, and is interested in learning and doing everything with me, whether I'm out working on the barn or just sweeping the floor. Let me tell you about some of my hobbies. First of all, I live on a family farm that's been in the family for over 100 years. So one of the hobbies that for me has been really to rebuild and actually be able to have a barn and fenced in 5 acres, and we have a 2-acre pond that my dad, Bob, built. So we really love to fish and play, and we raise chickens for eggs, and we have ducks, and my biggest hobby though is really my family. I love my family. Whenever I have my kids and I'm home, we spend the best of time, go to our local church, and it's just, my hobbies really are my family. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my hobbies or my favorite activity. Really, again, I'm very family oriented. I love to spend time. I was adopted, in which I have 2 great parents, Bob and Sandy Daake. But in the last 3 years, I found my mom that gave me up for adoption, and her name is Norma. And I have found out that I have 2 brothers, Aaron and Jason. So really, getting to know my family, my mom, it's just interesting because she gave me up for adoption at a very young age, and later in life married the same gentleman, my father, and had 2 boys. And we just kind of recently met. Nobody knew in her family that I was adopted. And I went to my doctor. I had some health issues with blood pressure, and basically asked my doctor if she knew how I could find my mom. I had exhausted every avenue, and she gave me a website through the state of Indiana to find her. I emailed the website, sent the information, and then within 3 days I had had a phone call from my mom and found her. So that's been one really exciting thing in my life, finding my biological mom. If I want to talk to you about my favorite food, as you can kind of tell, I think I like all foods, but my favorite food really in reality is lasagna. I love Italian foods. Of course, they've got to be the fattiest and with lots of cheese and good sauce. So I think the big thing there is growing up with some friends of mine who are Italian and always having the best lasagna. I'm kind of like Garfield in a sense. You know, if there's some lasagna left over in the refrigerator, I'm eating it. My favorite movie of all time is The Crow. If anybody's familiar with the famous actor Bruce Lee, his son Brandon Lee, it was the last movie he did. He was actually killed doing this movie, but it's basically a movie about, you know, here's a situation of 2 young people that are in love, and their lives are taken just because of, you know, they were complaining about the condition of the house they lived in or the apartment they lived in. And Brandon Lee come back from life and basically avenged his death and his fiance's death, which was, it's just a really neat movie. But again, just Brandon Lee was a great actor, and I've always had like kind of the Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee movies. So. Wow, a random fact about myself. Man of faith. I've had faith my entire life. I've always been active in some form or another. and faith really drives my feelings about my job, being honest with my family, with everybody. So really the random fact about me is I'm a man of faith, and anybody who really knows me knows that. Three words to describe me. That's pretty good. Wow. I'm going to say, first of all, I'm probably very active, hyperactive sometimes. I'm always thinking of two or three things at a time. But really, basically, three words. I would probably go back to is of man of faith. I've always been very strong in my beliefs, and don't like to really step outside of that. I started working here, looks like in August of 2005. It's been 8 years working for Rex. I worked for Rex prior, as far as full-time in 2005, but I worked for Rex prior doing trade shows. And to me, this is the neatest thing that really describes Rapid View and EBOC. I was doing a trade show for Rex, and I was doing a push camera demonstration at the Pumper Show back when it used to be at Nashville. And I was just doing this on my vacation time. And we were pushing push cameras through these clear tubes to show that our push camera was steerable. And when I was doing this, we had on the center display, we had EBOC's first lighted camera head. And this is the coolest thing to me. This is what really drove me to EBOC to believe in their quality and their longevity, is here this camera was on here, and it was from their museum. It was their first lighted camera head, and it spun around on this mirror we had in the center. And as I'm pushing this camera through here, this guy taps me on the shoulder, and he starts pointing at that camera. He was from another country, a language that I didn't understand. And he kept pointing at it, and I didn't know what to say. I couldn't understand him. So basically, Axel, one of the reps from EBOC, started talking to the guy, and they kind of got into a really intense conversation. And pretty soon they shook each other's hand and walked off. And I said, Axel, what did that guy want? And he said, you know, that camera's in our museum. It's been in our museum for years. And that guy wanted it for a backup. And I thought to myself, you're kidding me. Here he is, he's using a system. And this camera has been out, you know, not been mass produced for years. And he wanted that camera for a backup. So that told me that, number one, I know that we have a 20-year part or a 10-year parts backup guarantee, that anything we mass produce, we will give you parts for 10 years. But here's something, this guy's been using it for like 20 years afterwards, and it still works. He just wanted it as a backup camera. And to me, that really sold me on EBOC, because number one, it's still a family-owned business that they're constantly developing products to make your job easier and give you longer life out of equipment. But the other thing, it just shows you how dedicated people are to a piece of product that they know works and makes them money and gives them a good living. To tell you that my most favorite story was really the one about the push camera, but in long term, the story, it could be multiple stories. Working for Rex and Chris over the years, I mean, it's just a very good family to work for. They always, you know, bring everybody together as a family. When we have Septemberfest every other year, he's bringing everybody together as a family and, you know, sharing information, help educating them. He's, you know, we provide really great food. The beer steins that Matt's make are really, really cool. And then when we have our dealer cruises every other year, again, it brings our dealers together as a family and brings us as a tight-knit family that we can share information. We want to learn what things we could do better. We want to learn from our dealers on situations that they're learning and how to compete and how to be more profitable. And Rex and Chris does a great job of really making everybody feel, again, as family, dealers and customers. I think really the most rewarding time in my life is I'm very goal oriented. When I look at, you know, what I want to accomplish in a day or what I want to accomplish in a part of my life, is is when I started here back in 2005, I set a goal. And my goal was really basically to develop the Northeast and try to get dealers in every state. And that way really, you know, it would give something, you know, back to Rex for allowing me to have this opportunity. And the most rewarding time was really after 5 years of making sure that we had dealers in every state. The only one I didn't have was West Virginia. And that has probably been the most rewarding of being able to accomplish that goal. I think the one thing that would surprise most people about this job is really long-term, what you do, what you give for this company, between travels, the days, the amounts in motel rooms, the hours on the drive, and doing your own demonstrations, meeting people all over the world really, but North America, covering North America, is just really the dedication and what the families, your wives, your kids sacrifice for you to go out and perform your job. I think that would be surprising for most people to understand what it takes to become or to be a sales manager. Strangest request from a contractor or vendor was Dave Heisel after doing a demonstration. He says, "I like the unit, it did what you said it would do, but I want to take it apart and see what's inside of it and see how it works." I was really kind of blown away, didn't know what to think. So I called Rex and said, "Rex, you know, can we do this?" And Rex said, you know, have him come in and let Rick show him what our componentry is about and how it works. And Dave Heisel came in and got to see how it worked. And again, he's been a long-term customer of ours for a long time. Three words to describe my job: overcoming past concepts. And what I mean by that is when you go and you show people EBOK that have never seen EBOK Rapid View products before, you know, they're kind of used to having to fix things all the time. Broken cables, broken axles, terminations all the time. And of course, price is when you go and you meet with these people, you're showing them and conveying to them that we build quality. No longer are you going to have to do a termination once a month. No longer are you going to have to replace axle seals once a month. No longer you're going to have to worry about water getting in or your equipment flipping in a line. To me, that is the three words in making it happen is you're having to prove to them or show them that your product is better and why. No longer is it normally accepted that you're going to have to work on it and spend a bunch of money repairing it. Hi, my name is Dave Daake, and I'm proud to work for Rapid View.